Somebody shot my dad. I get the killer mentality. I come from murder and tragedy. Single burn home and family. Do this shit for my whole family. I'ma go get me a Grammy. You know that I'm missing you, Granny. Backbone to my whole family.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, brother. I receive that, bro. I don't know if I got no political aspirations at this point, but no, that's definitely received. It's so much about, about the grace of God in the last, probably over the last 10 years at this point, I've been able to impact political, decisions, right? If you will, policy, laws, whatever. I've been able to play a part in that. And I enjoy that, right? I enjoy being able to help legislation, get introduced, passed, that's gonna help us in this city, right? But it's so much about that life that I don't know that I want, and if I continue to, play in the political process to help certain things and still kind of have, I got 2 little girls, man, that I want to watch grow up. And I say that this is right. I know that, if I went in a political office, there would be I don't think there'd be anybody in the history of this town that would come into office anyway, probably aside from Marion Barry, that had a reputation of helping, being accessible, being, the name recognition, and again, but aside from, like, one thing that I probably would even add for me that Mr. Barry didn't have, well, Mr. Barry wasn't from here, right? So I got like real connection, a deeper connection, because I'm from here and his family and his friends, right? That being in office like that for me would really like make my life, I think, a living hell. I don't think that I would enjoy. It would be just too much. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy my life too much to like. But some people say, "But Tone, sometimes you might got to do it, but I don't know. People are considering what's the other side to that, and not to mention just throw the politics, and not to mention I'm still working on some things. Like I don't. Ain't nobody be saying what they want to say. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's another side to that thing.
I get it.
With my, who I am as a person, bro. I just don't know. I don't smile when I ain't happy. I'm happy a lot, Tony, but I don't smile when I ain't happy.
Right. I think, Tony, when it comes down to it, if it's not you, someone of your caliber, but we definitely need someone with morals and principles like we have on this call right now. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the only way that we're going to be able to, succeed, as DC natives. You know what I mean? Because we can't keep bringing in, we can't keep allowing other people to run our city.
Nah, for sure. But that's also why we can vote. But we got to do this too. Now, I receive that too, and I think I agree with you. But we also got to, as a voters block, I'm so happy that now one thing I'm very proud about is that Robert White introduced this legislation, the Commission on Reentry and Return to Citizen Affairs. And I used to be the chair, but I wasn't the chair when this got introduced. But I helped to lobby to help this Restore the Vote Act get passed, which is allowing our DC residents that's in the federal system will be able to vote in our elections, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I say that to say if the people that's in the feds can vote, then we got to empower DC natives and let them out here to vote. And I'm not just talking about the presidential election. I'm talking about more specifically our local elections.
Exactly.
Because if we vote locally and show up as a voters block locally, I don't care if the person that's in the office from Iowa, they're going to know that they got to be accountable to us as voters, that we can change their reality. And really, I try to leverage, I think, and I can say this publicly because I know this to be I know this real. I know that people that's on that council or, even maybe people in leadership, they know that what I could do if I wanted to run for office, right? And I try to leverage that, right, to build relationships with them, to let them know that you need to, have the motivation to introduce policy and legislation that's going to be beneficial to natives. You know what I'm saying? And I guess that might be what my role is. But the other side of that, we need to run candidates. And I hope that, I know people may see me as somebody that could win or whatever. But I want to also show DC natives that you also can, you know, that's something you want to do, you can do that. And if we show that we can bring young voters, returning citizens, you know, our seniors, and we can vote and speak in one voice about certain candidates, depending on the ward, I think we can definitely be formidable politically, but we gotta be engaged. We can't keep sitting on the sideline. And that's what we've been able to do, because by default, before we had just, you know, politicians that were like homegrown, or politicians that were black. So people didn't really feel like they had to be involved politically. They, you know, people was gonna do the right, quote unquote, the right. But we're in a different time. You know what I'm saying? We're in a different time now that people really have to you know, adapt and adjust and get into the fold. One of the things about, you know, 1,000 people move to DC a month, right? I think it is, right? Most move to place in America, or right, 1 and 2 for over the last like 5-6 years. But many of those people don't really participate in local politics. So still, the city still can be politically, we still have a lot of leverage, but we got to use it. You know what I mean? We got to use it. But when we look at Ward 7 and 8, and we getting on the midterm election, I think we had like 10% in Ward 8 and like 7%, I mean 10% in Ward 7 and like 8% in Ward 8 or something like that. That's ridiculous.
So how do we raise those numbers, Tony? How do we get more people engaged, knowing that the numbers are like that?
Well, to Shay's point, I think because now in the primary though, you saw a significant uptick in voter turnout, even in COVID. But you had Trayon ran, right? That's his re-election, right? So I think one is having candidates that people want to vote for. I think that's one, right? But I think the other thing is showing people why it's important to participate, and why it's important to vote, why you can no longer sit on the sideline, how your council members impact your life. I mean, my father had the Board of Election had just sent out the voter registration forms to the feds. So my father called me yesterday and was saying that right. And he sent me an email too, telling me the most beautiful part about the email though was the conversation that he had with his celly, who like a young dude, you know, and the young dude got 5 kids. So my father was telling him, like, don't you want better, you know, good schools for your kids? Don't you want an opportunity for our people to stay in the city? Don't you want prison reform? Right? These things, this all starts with who's in office, and that's akin with us voting. And this, I think, is important that we start to have these conversations with people in their terms. Like for a lot of the guys that's in prison, the Second Look Act, right? With the IRA, I think it's IRA, like point, you know, the third version of the IRA, which is now, if you commit a violent crime at 25, after serving a certain amount of time, the judge can look at your sentence again. Like in the feds, that's a hotbed issue. Everybody, you know what I'm saying, is concerned about that, right? But so for them, they understand that Kenya McDuffie first introduced IRA, then Charles Allen, who became the judiciary, the chair of the judiciary, came in and took it to another level, and now they're trying to take it to an even higher level. But again, the political process that really can affect people's family members. That really can affect people that's in prison, get them their freedom back. And I think these are the kind of things when we're talking about voting, how we got to talk to people, just like in the national politics, you know, when you talk about, you know, healthcare, when you talk about government subsidies, when you talk about, so whatever these issues, people vote from their own, you know, situation. So I think we don't do a good enough job of speaking to the disconnected population about why they should vote. We just say our ancestors died, you should vote.
Right.
OTL, Mafia Music. I don't really do the computers. I'm in the street with the movers. I'm on the block with the shooters.